You skipped it, you dissed it, you said it's a bore. But what if that film's got a little bit more? What if I don't like it? What if it's bad? What if it's awkward or lazy or sad? But what if it's genius, a total surprise? What if it's gold when I open my eyes? We're watching the films you love to avoid. Now sit down and deal with your cinephile void. What if I don't like it? Let's give it a spin. You might hate it or love it. Let's dive right in. So, National Treasure. I mean, you've seen the memes, you've heard the quote, "I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence." And if you're anything like me, that alone might have been enough to make you say, yeah, I don't think this one is for me. Because on paper, it sounds ridiculous. It sounds like a Reddit post turned into a script, like that kind of movie that would play on a loop in a dusty 4chan thread about tunnels under DC. And for a long time, that's exactly why I skipped it. But here's the thing. I was wrong. I was so wrong, because this movie kind of rules. Let's be fair, though. If you're skeptical, I get it. Maybe you're worried that it will be overly patriotic in a jingoistic, history-washed kind of way. Or maybe you're rightfully worried that Nicolas Cage will go into his historically unhinged mode, screaming about Ben Franklin's secret glasses or something. Or maybe, like me, you're afraid of watching anything that's not historically accurate and learning the wrong kind of information. But here's what National Treasure actually is. A super tightly plotted, surprisingly thoughtful heist adventure movie that uses every minute of its runtime. There's no fluff, no wasted scenes. It really moves. And somehow, against all odds, it manages to be both smart and dumb in the most satisfying way possible. It's Indiana Jones without the divine intervention, the Da Vinci Code without the self-serious lectures. It's what happens when someone who genuinely loves American history writes a puzzle box thriller and then hands it to a cast that fully commits to the whole thing. Nicolas Cage playing it sincere, not ironic, not detached, just passionate, and that really works. Are there flaws? Absolutely. The plot is a bit absurd. The leaps in logic are wild in places. You will roll your eyes at least once, but then you'll still keep watching. Because the movie knows it's a little over the top and it invites you in anyway. So if you've been avoiding this one because you thought it was too corny, too Disney, or too far-fetched, trust me, just give it a shot. Especially today on the 4th of July. And if you're still not sold, or you're a longtime fan who just wants to relive the treasure hunt, join us for our special Independence Day episode of What If I Don't Like It, where I'm talking National Treasure with the one and only superfan Harry Marks, who, by the way, has this movie locked in as his number one on Letterboxd's favorite of all time.
I'm gonna steal the Declaration of Independence.
Welcome to the episode. We are joined on a very special episode. We are coming out a little bit earlier. We normally come out on the 15th, and you might have noticed it is the 4th of July. So we are going to steal the holiday. I have with me Harry Marks, and we're going to talk about National Treasure. Thanks for joining us.
This is in my Letterboxd top 4 as my number one slot. This is my favorite film of all time.
Has it always been your number one slot, or do you move those around, or is that like a hard stay?
Ever since I've been on Letterboxd, I believe it has been in my top slot. Ever since I took Letterboxd seriously in the last couple of years, it has been my top slot. The other three cycle around sometimes, but for the most part, ever since I can remember, National Treasure has been in number one.
That says a lot for this film. You know, like, So, if people who don't know, Harry came on earlier this year to talk about No Country for Old Men because he had not seen it. And having done that, I do invite guests to come back on and talk about a movie that they love that I haven't seen. And I had never seen this movie. And I kind of just didn't see this movie because I had a really preconceived notion of what to expect out of it. And that is going to, as we listen on, be revealed as hilariously inaccurate, and I am a very target demographic for what this movie wound up being.
Mm-hmm.
When was the first time you saw this movie?
I saw this film. God, I was already out of high school when this movie came out. I probably saw it within the year it came out. I honestly don't remember seeing it in theaters. I think it was on DVD or something
Okay.
when it first hit like rentals. I saw it, and I just remember my father and I bonded over it because he's a huge
Oh, that's
history nerd and
awesome.
loves American history. Loved
Okay.
the David McCullough books, 1776 and all those. So this is
Mm-hmm.
something that was like right in our wheelhouse.
That's awesome. So, would you say that you were drawn to it for the historical content, or are you a big Nicolas Cage fan?
Yes and yes.
Yes, and yes.
Nicolas Cage
Okay.
is the icing on top. I love a good heist film. I love a great mystery. I love solving clues. Um, and it really just checked off every box for me. What a film should be. And it had Nicolas Cage in it, and it had Sean Bean in it, and it had Harvey Keitel. I mean, just the cast is stellar here.
And Christopher Plummer is also in it for a hot minute,
Christopher
but he's
Plummer showed
there.
up. John Voight, for all his mishigas, still great actor. I love seeing him here. Justin Bartha is hilarious
Oh
as Riley. So
God, yeah.
it's a perfectly built cast. They've got great chemistry together. They play off each other really well. And what I really love about this, and I noted this in my review of Fountain of Youth, the new Apple TV Plus movie that came out, which is a similar premise
Mm-hmm.
of treasure
Mm-hmm.
hunting and finding some lost mythological thing, in this case, the Fountain of Youth. I did not believe that John Krasinski, who is the lead in that film, actually cared about the history. His character, I did not believe that he actually gave a crap about what he was looking for. It just seemed
Huh.
like the next thing he had to find. I felt Nicolas Cage actually cared about the history in this film. And it was one scene in particular, it's my favorite scene in the movie. It's when they're in the Independence Hall toward the end, or not toward the, it's like right after the middle. It's where they're looking for the glasses. So they're in Independence Hall and they unroll the Declaration of Independence and they're all holding it. Riley, Abigail, and Benjamin. And they're standing there and he stops everything and he says, wait. I just realized the last time this was here, it was being signed. And it felt like something he had to have ad-libbed. I can't imagine someone wrote that in, but it felt so authentic to me, and it's my favorite line in the whole movie. I love it.
And it's authentic in a level where, so like they're on the run, they're being chased. This movie, first of all, I think what I really need to note about this movie is it's 2 hours long. It takes all those hours, it uses all those hours. There isn't
Yeah,
a throwaway scene. It never stops
it
going.
throws you
It goes
right into the
hard.
action with the search for the Charlotte. Like
Yeah.
you get that little preamble exposition, which I usually hate a big exposition dump at the beginning of a movie to set up the scene, but I really love that it's told like you're telling the tale of this lost treasure. The audience is in on the chase with young Benjamin, and so it doesn't feel as info dumpy as it might have been
Mm-hmm.
in another movie. It really, they
Mm-hmm.
do it well, and it's Christopher Plummer delivering it. How do you not love that? And then it throws you
It
right
helps.
into the Arctic search for the lost ship, and it takes off
Yes.
from there.
And when that character, when Nicolas Cage is talking about like we're standing here in this room and they're being chased, the next character says like, "Hey man, I don't know if we have time for that." So it has these moments of incredible realism in between the Nicolas Cage camp and this like big world chasing ridiculous plot, but also it manages to feel way more thoughtful and realistic than, like you've said, some of these other close but not quite copies of these. Like if you watch Tomb Raider, it's another same, you could say this is the same sort of story, and Fountain of Youth. It just doesn't hit this way. Watching this, I thought about Indiana Jones so many times, and I do
Oh
have a
yeah.
nostalgia point for that. But like, oh, this has that feeling of like we thought Indy cared.
What I appreciate about this movie is that unlike Fountain of Youth and even the Indiana Jones films, everything here is very grounded. Everything is very mechanical and scientific based, and not divine oriented, not aliens, not, time
Mm-hmm.
travel. It is all,
Mm-hmm.
the Masons built this, the Egyptians built this, or whatever. The founding fathers developed this thing and hid it away. Like, there are no divine intervention. There's no opening in the Ark of the Covenant and ghosts flying out. It's all very grounded in, quote unquote, it's a heightened reality.
Exactly. And I will admit, that is part of why I stood away from watching National Treasure. I thought this is the kind of movie that would be stand by people who are on like 4chan or the depths of the trolley level of the internet, who probably really believe this alien conspiracy of lizard people. And like, it never goes there. I
No, it
don't know
never
why I
does.
thought
In fact,
that.
they poke fun at that when they, after they find the Charlotte and they get back to the U.S. and they're trying to tell the FBI and the CIA Sean Bean is going to try and seal the Declaration, and they're like, "You're nuts! We don't believe any of this." And they're talking about the Freemasons and all this, and they just kick. And then when they realize later on, it's like, when it finally does get stolen, when he does take it, the agents combine is like, well, we had this guy come in, and they're like, and you didn't think to tell me? Like, it's just very funny how they all brush him off as some nut who's off
Yeah.
his rocker, and he's the sanest one of
But
them all.
But there's a level of self-awareness that the film gets to
Mm-hmm.
have in that, like, every single time. And I played a little game with myself. I was drinking espresso, so it wasn't that high stakes, but I did get, anytime somebody said steal the Declaration of Independence, I was like, and by the end, I could have probably run to DC and stolen the Declaration. I was like, yeah, it's
I don't have any tattoos,
comical.
but my first tattoo I want are the letters IGSTDOI. I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence. That's how much this film means to me. It is, like, it's absurd. Like, you talk about this
Mhm.
film and it is absurd, but it hits the spot in a way that no other film has hit for me.
And so, how do you feel like you watch this movie frequently? Have you seen it recently, or was the last time you saw it a while ago?
We watched it on my birthday, actually, back in April. It was the last time
Oh, so
I saw it. I usually try to do once or twice a year a rewatch.
nice.
I have the Blu-ray, or I throw it on Disney Plus or what have you.
Mm-hmm.
I years ago took a vacation to Washington D.C. and Virginia, West Virginia, wherever Mount Vernon is, Virginia, right? Virginia.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And Mount Vernon features in the sequel, Book of Secrets,
Mm-hmm.
and they had a National Treasure specific tour, because when we went around the time the movie had come out, and so we didn't get to go on that tour. We had gotten there too late, but they had a special tour where they took you underground into the basement area of Mount Vernon where the film was shot, or where it was supposed to be taking place, and you got to see all the different locations and stuff. I wish I had gone on there, but there were signs all over with Nicolas Cage on them and the logo and everything. I was so jealous.
Oh yeah, you have to buy into that whole concept. Do you feel that the sequels are worth people's time? We won't get too into the
I
sequels, but
I mean, the second one is essentially a rehash of the first one. It's, everyone looking
okay.
for a lost treasure of some sort. Helen Mirren is in the
Mm.
sequel. Love
Ooh,
her.
love her.
From
Harris.
Ed Harris. Thank you. He's in it. He plays the bad guy, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
It takes
Yeah,
place across the world. It's not just in the U.S. There's a trip to London and a trip to, I think, Paris at one point. It spans the globe more than this one does, but it all comes
okay.
back to America. It comes back to being a national treasure at the end. So, but there was
Yeah,
something
he
about the
he
the
is.
first one that was just like lightning in a bottle for me.
Ed Harris has really good chemistry, I think, opposite Nicolas Cage. Is like, if because they did The Rock together, where he was kind
That's
of the
right.
bad
Yeah.
guy in The Rock. So I do think that works. It is interesting how very specifically different this movie does feel, because even if it feels a bit like Indiana Jones, it has a level of camp about it. It is funny, but it's also like you're not laughing at it, you're kind of laughing with it. It's a very strange
Hmm.
line to walk. And then while I was watching it, I thought, oh, this is going to kind of be like the Da Vinci Code. And yet, like, for me, I didn't really care for the Da Vinci Code. It felt a little like I don't really buy Tom Hanks as this character. It doesn't click for me.
Right. It's a weird, it's not even weird. It's an interesting way they framed the film, because you feel like you are along for the ride. There are a lot of scenes in Da Vinci
Mm-hmm.
Code where you feel like you're being talked at and like told facts
Yeah.
about things in a way like it's coming out of a textbook. And I think this has a lot to do with Cage's delivery. It feels like he is that history teacher you just jive with, and he is sharing knowledge with you in a way that is down to earth and inclusive, and you will follow him to the ends of the earth. He is charming and captivating and passionate, and I don't think this film would have worked if it hadn't been Cage in the lead role.
I don't think so to any degree because the delivery of the lines are perfect in places. And if you know Nicolas Cage as a person, he kind of really is obsessed with Americana and history and does things like
Yeah,
buys actual dinosaur
T-Rex does.
bones. And I've seen his tomb in New Orleans where he will be
Oh yeah.
buried when he dies. The like pyramid that he like
Yep.
that feels reminiscent of the pyramid in National Treasure. Like there's a real authenticity of
Oh
like
God,
this
if
guy
there is
wants
a
to be in
national
it.
treasure hunt after he dies because he's left behind something, I will lose my mind.
Actually, a little tangent here because I did want to tell you about something, and I talked to you about it a little bit when we were doing the other show. There's something every year in Vermont called the Green Mountain Adventure Challenge, and this is the map
Oh
from
yeah.
2023. And like you start off with these like basic clues, and you can do crosswords, and then you have to find things hidden in things, and then there's play ciphers, and it's all based on Masonic history
Oh,
of Vermont
that's so
and the
cool.
town that you're in. And you physically have to use this map to go places. And when you go places, you'll find like hidden boxes. And then you have to use the cipher to break into the box to get a physical object to go to another location. And sometimes you have to talk to people because they'll be the clue and you have to say the right thing to them. And so it's like 3 days of running around all of this town in Vermont
That's
to try
awesome.
and find a treasure at the end that's based on Masonic history. I adore it. It is
I gotta go to
difficult. I
Vermont.
cannot stress enough how difficult it is. It's in a town that is normally a ski town, so in the summer it's totally abandoned, and it's pretty easy to get a decent room, decent rate.
Oh nice.
And once you buy a ticket, the ticket lasts for as long as it takes for you to figure it out. So, they only are open in the summer. If you don't finish it that summer, you can come back next summer and keep trying to figure it out. There are 3 different tiers.
Interesting.
I'm
That's so
still on
cool.
the new beginner because I haven't figured it out. Like,
Jeez. I gotta do that. I have a friend who lives in Vermont. She's an author, and I wonder if she's done it. It feels like right in her
yes.
wheelhouse.
I will send you the link when we're done. It'll also be in the liner notes to this. It's Vermont on Time. It has started this year, so you can go and participate. Although do note, part of it can be extremely physical. Like one year, you had to hike up the ski mountain to get to the top to find a wooden bear, and then behind the bear was a box that you opened that had a clue in it. But like I had to
Oh
hike,
wow.
and I chose to bring my cat because he likes to come with us. So I hiked up a mountain carrying a cat and a papoose.
Did you have like a
What a
baby Bjorn?
time. Baby Bjorn, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. He has epilepsy, so he can't really walk or get away
oh,
from you, but he likes to hike.
that's wonderful.
And so that I love that. And this movie felt like that. There were these
Hmm.
parts where you were included in kind of trying to figure out the clue and then going to the next. It wasn't like you needed to. You could have sat there and just taken the ride, but somehow it was accessible enough that you felt like participating and getting excited, even when you knew parts of it were historically inaccurate. Like, I
Oh,
don't care.
absolutely.
It's fine.
Yeah, and it was like you said, it was accessible. It was grounded, and it like the stakes were not so high that it felt unattainable. Like that, we're not talking about the fate of the world here. We're not trying to stop a bomb from going off. We're literally looking for something that has been buried for thousands of years. Where is it? And like I imagine if you were a stranger on the street watching these crazy people run through New York, or run through Washington, or Philadelphia, it's like, well, there go some randos doing something, I don't know, but like it clicked because it wasn't so high stakes. It felt like a Marvel movie or something.
It felt like they would have to, like, why hasn't somebody stopped all these guys? How come the FBI can't catch them? It's like, well, it's just 4 people. They're just going
Right,
around
exactly. And they're technically not hurting anybody except for Ian's people.
each other.
It's it's a treasure hunt. Like it's fun. And it's why
Mm-hmm.
I've always leaned toward stuff like Sahara. I think is a great film, the Matthew
Mm-hmm.
McConaughey adaptation of the novel. Raise the Titanic, historically inaccurate to a fault, but fun nonetheless. And have you ever seen that one?
I've seen parts of that one.
Yeah, that one. So they're hunting for, I can't remember if it's based on a Ludlum novel, but it's or maybe Crichton, I can't remember. But they're hunting for this like element that went down on the Titanic. And mind you, the book and the movie came out before Robert Ballard found the wreck and realized it was split in two. So everyone thought it had gone down in one piece. And so the raising of the Titanic scene is like one of the best things I've ever seen captured on film. It's this giant 10-foot model of the Titanic with some of the smokestacks still intact coming out of a swimming pool or just coming out of the Mediterranean Ocean, or I can't remember where they filmed it. And they do it all in slow motion, and then they recreated like the entry of the Titanic or the grand staircase area, all decrepit and run down and waterlogged and everything to walk on. And they essentially redid that sequence or recreated it for Fountain of Youth with the Lusitania. They cut off a section of the Lusitania, lift it up to surface level, and then walk around it, and it looks just like it came off of Raise the Titanic.
See, I think that that's part of why these other movies don't work is that they copy instead of homage, and that doesn't feel authentic enough for me to want to engage in it. It feels too
Right.
cheap. Yeah.
Yeah,
Even
Fountain of Youth felt like a pastiche of other treasure hunting movies we've seen. National Treasure, Indiana
yeah.
Jones, Raise the Titanic. Like they were just checking the boxes, to get their beats in. National Treasure felt like a passion project. Like someone really put thought
Yeah.
into this. The way the clues were developed, the
Mhm.
locations, just all of that stuff. It felt like someone had the screenwriter Jim Kauf just had a good time with it, and you can tell.
It really reminded me of Monkey Man in its pacing, which is another passion project with Dev Patel,
I
where
still
there's
have to
just
see
this
that.
like, oh, it's really good. But it's this just juggernaut of like we're starting, we're going, it's moving.
Yeah,
The inevitability of where you're gonna come wind up doesn't matter. Like, I mean, the whole thing starts with we're gonna steal the Declaration, and that kind of happens in the first third. Then they've
yeah.
stolen it. Spoiler alert. So, like, when I understood that this movie was about stealing the Declaration of Independence, I was flabbergasted to be like, we are 10 minutes in and all of this has happened. Even though this is an exposition dump, I feel like this movie is going to do a lot. I don't feel like this movie is going to feel like, oh God, how stupid and Disney and childish. There are. Have you ever seen Librarian or The Librarian?
Oh, the Noah Weil movies, yeah. And I watched the
Yeah.
first couple seasons of the TV show too. Yeah,
How did you feel about that? I've only ever seen a couple episodes of the TV show.
I thought it was interesting. I liked the movies better than the TV show. I thought the
Okay.
movies just had. I think it had mostly to do with Noah Weil and his character.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
again, it's very magical. Like it's
Mm-hmm.
this secret library where they house
Yeah.
Excalibur and the Tree of Life and all these different magical items from history. And so there's a sense of falseness about it. It's like it's not like this could ever actually happen. It's not like there's a real
Mm.
library like this anywhere, which is funny because that those movies and National Treasure influenced my writing of The Library at the Center of the Earth, which is on sale now on Amazon. I wrote all of the clues. It's entirely based in reality, but like there's nothing magical about it. It's all essentially the basic plot is there is a secret library staffed by hundreds of scientists and researchers working to solve to cure diseases and solve global crises and all this, but you have to be invited in, and someone with the key to the library to get inside is killed, and his daughter has to take up the mantle to solve who killed him and find her way into the library to stop something bad from happening. And so I wrote all these clues. They're all based on real history and Roanoke and various historical points in
Oh.
America to get entrance to the library. It was a lot of fun to write, and I just kept thinking about National Treasure. I had the soundtrack playing on a loop for months to get me in the mood.
Oh. Who does the soundtrack for this? I don't think I'm aware of the soundtrack.
uh, Trevor something, Trevor Rabin.
Nice. That is
Yeah.
fascinating. I'm gonna have to get a copy of that book because that again, like I feel like that's I'm the demographic for this. I love these kind of engaging mysteries. There's two types of mysteries. I feel like these mysteries where you only solve them at the end because the author eventually gives you the information that you needed, the last puzzle piece, or
The
you
Agatha
solved it
Christie
because it
model.
was solvable. Yeah, I feel bad always calling her out, but yeah, the Agatha Christie model where like, oh, I didn't know this person existed versus like all of the data was there. You maybe figured it out. Maybe you had to wait till the end, but the possibility of maybe getting there yourself is so alluring. It feels like a choose your own adventure
Yeah.
book. I feel deeply involved. And then I can read a longer book. I can sit for a longer movie.
Yeah, there's an author I love. His name is Lawrence Block. I had lunch with him once. He's fantastic.
Oh, nice.
Um,
Oh, nice.
and Larry writes a book in his burglar series, the burglar who studied Spinoza, the burglar in the library, the burglar who thought he was Bogart. These are cozy mysteries about a small-time burglar who is usually hired to steal back something like, a divorced wife wants something back that her husband took. But anytime he goes in to steal the thing, someone ends up dead. And then he has to prove his innocence while also solving the crime of who killed the person. They're fantastic. They're funny. They're all set in New York. They're great, but they are essentially Agatha Christie novels because he gets you up to a point where you think you know what's going to happen or who done it, and then there's always a piece of information he withheld until the big reveal. I'm sure you're wondering why I gathered you all here moment, and that's when you learn
Exactly.
there's someone had something in their hand that he didn't tell you about, or they knew a piece of information no one else knew, and then you get the big answer to who killed them and why.
That's yeah, yeah, and I mean those are still fun. I still enjoy them, but they're not as fun. I also love any kind of mystery series like that where every time our protagonist goes somewhere, someone dies, and you're like, I think you're. I mean, you're not
I think
killing
it's
people,
you.
but I think it might be you, Angela. I think you have to stop going to dinner parties.
At a certain point, Jessica Fletcher, you are the suspect. Like, you're just killing people left and right.
Yeah, I actually I have a turn of phrase. It's like a fetch. I'm trying to make it happen. The Murder She Wrote possibility, which is whenever my friends are like, I just don't understand what's happening in my life, and I'm like, is it? Is there a chance
Yeah,
you might be causing this?
right. I mean, for one small town, I think she was in Maine, to have so much murder going on, something's up.
Something is up. Something's up. You're like you could maybe just change your lifestyle a little.
It's the same thing with Monk and Psych. It's like, Santa Barbara or San Francisco. There's just so much weird murder going on.
Really specific murder happening. You got to start asking
Yeah.
yourself questions. But getting back to this movie, what was the year that this came out? Was God, I should know that.
2004.
2004. And how many have there been? Four,
There
three,
have been 2 movies and 1 series.
and one series. How was the series?
Wasn't great. It was honestly, I think it went
Okay.
on a little too long. It probably would have worked better as a movie. There were a few cameos from previous characters. Harvey Keitel shows up.
Uh-huh.
Riley shows up. There's a reference to Ben, but Nicolas Cage never appears. Abigail doesn't appear.
Mm.
And it took place, or the MacGuffin was this. Oh, what was it? It was a South American legend that they were trying to find the treasure of, and I just like the reveal didn't quite stick the landing. I don't know. It wasn't great. Catherine Zeta-Jones was in it though. She was very good. It had a really solid cast. It was just I don't think the execution was there.
It's fascinating because we start to see, I think people, Fountain of Youth has come out. They're talking about redoing The Mummy.
Yeah.
People starting to go back to wanting to do a revival of adventure movies. And I do
Hmm.
genuinely feel like this is a bit of a flash in the pan, maybe a perfect storm where you've got Nicolas Cage's love for this wonderful script, and the fact that like they've got this line between interactive and interesting. I don't know why so many people are trying to do it and it's not working. They're not hitting that smart, dumb, fun kind of
It's
level.
it's strange. I think Fountain of Youth's problems were myriad, but the biggest
Mhm,
problem was John Krasinski. He wasn't
mhm.
the right choice to play that role. And I think the way the role was written, he's playing it like Ryan Reynolds plays every single character. He's snarky, he's quippy,
Mm.
nothing is serious. And I think that's the thing here. The character you have in a treasure hunting film has to be taken seriously and has to take the treasure hunting aspect seriously. It's why McConaughey works in Sahara, because as laid back as he is, as all right as he is, he's still very much deep into the history, deep into the lore, and passionate about it. Nicolas Cage is passionate about it. There's that
Yeah.
moment when he's standing over the Declaration before they steal it. He and Riley are looking at the Declaration under the case, and he says, of all the ideas that became the United States, there's a line here that's at the heart of all the others. But when a long train of abuses and usurpations pursuing invariably the same object evinces a design to reduce them under absolute despotism, it is their right, it is their duty to throw off such government and provide new guards for their future security. It is that moment when he locks the audience in and says, we are going on this ride together. And you feel emboldened and you feel excited to steal the Declaration of Independence with him. These newer movies don't have that. There is no like authentic excitement there. And I felt the same thing with the latest Indiana Jones movie. It was nostalgia for
No.
nostalgia's sake. It was,
Yeah.
older Indy. Even he was tired. His character was like, just let me die back in ancient Greece. I don't want to go back. I want to die. He was tired of it. I mean, he was the history major. You could tell his character teaching these rotten kids who didn't want to sit there and learn about archaeology. He was like, you know what? I'm retiring. I'm done. I've had enough. I've saved the world four different times. I'm good. Like, and I think we were all good at that point. We haven't found, I think, since Ben Gates, a true treasure hunting champion to rally behind.
It's interesting because I'm trying to think about who else we could have put in this role, who else we could rally behind if we tried to do a prequel right now. And it feels deeply limited, not only by that, but maybe by the time period that it came out in, and maybe because it's right now that feels like the revival works. For example,
Mm-hmm.
like I bought in that exact moment. I'm like, yes, this is a really meaningful document. I really believe this, and also I want to crack the meaning behind it. And then we're in this point in our society in the United States right now where everybody wants to say they know what the forefathers really thought or what the Declaration
Mm-hmm.
of Independence really means. So there's almost this like second layer of the movie because it's a people call it a dumb movie like because it's just chasing stuff, but it's also a very high level, smart level where you're going, this is our desire to want to understand the basis of the creation of our democracy while we watch it falling apart around us. We almost want there to be the ability to save this, to figure it out, to get the treasure and save America. So it's not high stakes, but it feels important stakes.
That quote from the Declaration, also just the very fact that this film is focused on finding and preserving history, and we are living in a time where that history is being eroded and destroyed and whitewashed and redacted in every which way, by administrations, by local governments, just by people not wanting to teach their kids the right thing, by trying to eliminate entire days. I saw so many angry, tweets or threads or videos about Juneteenth, and it's like, why? What is being forced upon you to learn on Juneteenth? If you don't want to learn anything, you want to live in the dark, then just take the day off. Like, just take the day. But it's a chance to learn something else. Well, why are we celebrating Juneteenth and not something else? And why is it Pride Month and not Veterans Month? Why not both? Why not celebrate both? Like, why does it have to be one or the other? Everything is zero sum with a lot of these people, and by a lot of these people, I'm sure you can tell who I'm talking about. Uh, it's just it's exhausting. And we have a film
It,
here that, yes, on the surface, low stakes. It's a treasure hunting film. It's fun. It's popcorn entertainment. But on just below the surface, there's, I think, something here to think about preserving history,
yes.
about teaching our kids what came before us. That kosher and copacetic. That there are problems in
Mhm.
this country, but we need to learn about it, or we lose it to time.
And it doesn't wind up feeling like propaganda. So, like, to listen to that
No.
monologue while he's standing in front of the Declaration, there are a few times in recent memory where I can think of someone talking to me about that exact piece of paper where it doesn't feel like I'm being like the Da Vinci Code being spoken to. I feel like I am listening to the inner monologue of a man in love with the idea of democracy, and I've kind of forgotten how that felt.
Yeah. And I think it's it's interesting that, and I think that works with that line, that quote from the Declaration that he cites, is that yes, it can sound preachy. It can sound like he is saying, we need to do our best to fight tyranny and all that. But in the context of the film, he is talking about this British guy coming in and literally stealing democracy out from under him. And it works. Like, we accept that quote because in the context of the film, he's talking about Ian. He's not talking about Trump or whoever the government is, or whoever's president at the time. He's talking about this one British guy coming in and trying to take what we know to hold true and dear.
And so it gives you a frise. Even like you're suddenly like, I'm invested. Like your whole body feels that. And that is the delivery of Nicolas Cage.
Underneath, yeah.
Yeah, it's hard. I'm not sure as an actor, those are hard lines to not walk past on. And like, I think Nicolas Cage gets a hard rap for being an over actor, and this is some subtle fucking acting.
This film is some of his most subtle acting I've ever seen him do. He actually goes a little bananas in the sequel. He goes full Nick Cage, parading down the stairs, screaming his head off in one scene, and it's beautiful and glorious. But this is one of the most understated roles I've ever seen him do, and I think that's also what sells it. He is sincere, but it is a quiet sincerity. He whispers this line, this quote to Riley in that scene. He's not orating in front of everyone. There's no slow clap at the end of it. He says, "This is what it's about," and then he walks away. And it's this mic drop moment, and it sells you on it immediately.
And I think Riley is a great stand-in for us as an audience member.
Yes.
Usually that character can feel stupid or contrived. And you're right. Like, we get Riley, he's talking to Riley, so he's talking to us instead of having to talk to us as a whole group. And it's a good use of that archetype.
Yes. And that one moment, when they're in the American Apparel or whatever, the Urban Outfitters, and they're changing, and they're standing at the register, and they're trying to figure out the time to go see when the sun is in the right position to point to the location of the glasses. And Riley is like, "Wait, we didn't miss the time. You don't know this, do you?" And he's like, "Is this what you feel like all the time? Just knowing things other people don't." I love that he just revels in that in front of Nick Cage. And then inevitably, he's like, "And do you know who invented daylight savings time?" And they both rattle off Benjamin Franklin. He's like, "Ah!" And they're right back to swapping, places in the hierarchy. I love that.
I so hard relate to that. Both my husband and I, we watched this together, that like while we're watching the movie, we're like, this is fun. But did you know that? I'm like, yes. I know that Charles Wheatstone created dual color glasses, and it was much later on. And but I don't care. I love and because I had just done that video about the first 3D movie and how you can have two different endings, I knew to anticipate what happened with it. I'm like, you got to do different glasses. It's going to say. And so knowing that was ahead before they knew, I felt like, oh, is this what it feels like? Because it's intoxicating.
Yeah. Yep. I feel like that every time I watch a movie with someone, and it's like, I want to just start every sentence with, "Did you know? Did you know? Did you know?"
Oh, man. Have you ever seen the Declaration of Independence in real life?
I have, yeah.
Is it exactly as shown in the movie?
It's essentially, it's right there. Mind you, when we see it in the movie, there are far fewer people surrounding it than there are in real life. When you go see the Declaration of Independence, you can't get near it, certain times a year. Like when he says, 8th grade middle schoolers on their, annual trip, that's literally what it is. It's, a line of kids and then a line of other people and tourists and all this. And you just sort of like walk by. It's not like, if you come to MoMA in New York and you go see Starry Night, there's always a crowd of people surrounding it, but it just sort of smacks you in the face. Like you go up the escalator and you walk into the room and it's right there in front of you. It's very bizarre. There's no fanfare. There's no pomp and circumstance. It's just another painting hanging on the wall. It just happens.
And it's smaller than you expect it to be too. Yeah. You're like,
It is. It's a little smaller than I thought it would be. Not as small as the Mona Lisa, but it is smaller than you think it is.
I think the perception of time is the one that I'm truly like, wow, that is so much smaller than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
It's like,
And then and you see like Rothko's or Pollock's. What is it? Was it number 27 or something? It's the big one with it's all black paint marks down
Yeah.
the camera. It's my favorite painting he ever did, but it's also like the size of a barn door. It's just
It's the
enormous.
whole room. Yeah.
It
Yeah.
really is.
It's ironic because I've never seen the Declaration of Independence because I'm not a big fan of crowds, and I kind of understand that it's a crowded area. But I did go to England when I was a kid, and I went to see the world's tallest spire. Oh yeah, the kids love churches and tall churches, I tell you what.
Hmm.
But my parents were standing outside looking at the spire with everybody else, and I wandered away because I was like, fuck this isn't interesting. And I went to go inside the church, and inside the church was literally printed out on like a black and white piece of paper from a computer, a sign that said Magna Carta this way with an arrow. And I was like, what the fuck? And I follow the signs until I get to the center of the church. And in the center of the church, guarded by straight ass nobody, in a little glass thing, right, that you could be like, is the goddamn Magna Carta. And I just stood there in the
Wow.
room looking at it alone. And I was like, wow, this is not how we handle the Declaration of Independence, guys. Also, everybody outside, you need to come inside.
Yeah. That's so funny. Yeah, the Declaration and the Constitution are just under glass,
Hmm.
totally protected. Have you ever been to Independence Hall?
I have not. I've actually only been to DC once, and I only had enough time to do one thing. I went into the Smithsonian.
Okay, so Independence Hall is in Philly, and when you go,
Okay.
I think they
Oh,
filmed
Philly.
in the building for this movie. So everything that you see is authentic. I think that's true. 1776, the musical, did not film in Independence Hall. They filmed in Philadelphia, but they did not film inside the building. They recreated it on a soundstage, and it is accurate. It is damn accurate. What they don't show you, and they didn't show you in National Treasure either, is that I think it's upstairs. There is a second meeting room for all of the delegates with desks set up. It's carpeted. It's beautiful. And it's, I guess, a room where, like, if they didn't need to meet on something that needed to be voted on officially, they would take it upstairs and they would sit there and delegate for hours or whatever, and then go back downstairs to hold the vote. I think that's how they said it was. It was like 20 years ago. When I saw it, but it's a very interesting building to go into.
Have you seen 1776, the musical?
I watch it every year on 4th of July.
So I was supposed to go with my middle school class, and it got canceled. Like the week
Really?
before they closed it,
Huh.
and we all got refunded. And I've never seen it. Is I guess I could. Did they record a version of it?
So I watched the movie, the one from
Okay, the
1972,
movie.
the with William
All
Daniels,
right.
Mr. Feeney, and it's terrific. I watch it every year on 4th of July, and then I watch Hamilton right after. Um,
Awesome, very good choices. And of course, this movie, great choice for 4th of July, you know.
oh, this would be fantastic. This is a perfect 4th of July movie.
Do you think that this is comfort movie for you as well?
Definitely. This is the
Yeah.
kind of movie, like, this is a both turn it on and not think about anything movie, but this is also one of those movies that if I in the days when I would flip through the channels and it was on, I would watch. I would just sit down at any point and watch it, from that point to the end.
There's a very specific kind of movie that has to be. It can't. There are very few when you start to think about it, movies that you would just watch regardless of where it is when it's playing and if it's on TV. And I think that that's kind
Yeah.
of we might be the beginning of a generation that even knows what we're the end of a generation that even knows what we're
Oh
talking
yeah.
about here because
That concept is out the
whatever.
window now. Like, terrestrial television, flipping through channels is dead. Though a lot of streaming services do have channels now. Like,
Hmm.
there's, I think Freevee has like an entire channel devoted to Judge Judy, or an entire channel devoted to some reality show, or whatever. But it's just that one thing. The
Hmm.
days of like flipping through and looking for something to watch are gone. And so the serendipity, sort of like listening to the radio, the serendipity of stumbling upon something that you hadn't seen in a while and just want to watch is gone now. But that was Back to the Future for me. That was Ghostbusters. That was Goonies. Like any of those movies from the 80s and 90s, I would flip on and just watch from whatever point they were at. That's how I
I
found
will.
Nothing But Trouble.
Oh yeah! Wow, did you
Nothing that
catch it in the middle or did you catch it like the beginning?
I caught it. It was on HBO randomly, years and years and years ago. I was still a kid. I was like 12 or 13,
Hmm.
and my dad had it on, and he was watching it. And I had never seen it before, and I sat down and I watched it. I was like, "This is nuts! I love this." That
Okay.
movie and Freaked, the movie with Bobcat Goldthwait and I
Oh,
think Randy Quaid is in it,
I don't
and
think I could remember the name
Alex
of that
Winters.
if I tried. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think I've seen
with
that
the really
once.
freaky makeup effects. I think that just got a release from either Vinegar Syndrome or Arrow Video, one of the boutique labels. But that's another one that I love that came out. Like Comedy Central used to show that all the time, and I would watch that, at any point. It was just a weird, dumb movie that it was a comfort movie for me.
Absolutely. There's so many movies that I can think of like that. I will say Shudder, if you have the Shudder service, which is only horror,
Oh yeah,
they do a wonderful thing where when you open up the app, it is a like feed. They're playing one of their movies right in the middle
oh
that you
cool,
can just watch. And I do enjoy that because it will make me discover certain things. That's how I discovered Reservoir Dogs, which is one of my favorite movies of all time.
interesting.
But because I didn't know about the way that it's edited, I turned it on at the very first scene where Mr. Orange is sitting in the car and he's bleeding from his stomach. And I thought, oh no, I've caught the end of Reservoir Dogs. And I turned
Right,
it off and
that
I
was
found
back
it
when
in the TV
Tarantino.
guide.
Yeah, all of
Yeah.
his movies
And
were cut weirdly.
always. And I found it in the TV guide and I like set an alarm to wake up late that evening to try and watch it because I was like, I really want to watch this movie.
Yeah, that's
Man.
so weird to catch that movie, at the beginning and not realize that's the beginning of the movie.
Like I had to wake up at 3 a.m. and I'm like, okay, here we go. And I turn it on and it starts and it's that scene. And I was like, oh, shit. I had
It's
caught it
it's
at the
like
beginning.
it's like I just saw Sunset Boulevard on the big screen, and it opens up with William Holden face down in the pool, with a couple of gunshots in his back, and you're like, holy shit, how did that happen?
That is exactly that must have been like an homage kind of feeling beginning because that's so parallel. I love Sunset Boulevard, by the way, one of my
Terrific movie.
favorite films. It's one of, I think it's kind of like there are things I call gateways. When I have a style of movie that people are kind of resistant to, Akira is a great gateway film for people
Mm-hmm.
who are resistant to anime, and I feel like Sunset Boulevard is a very good gateway movie for people who are resistant to older films because the way that it is written and the way that it is shot is almost modern. You're not going to really feel any dated quality to it, in my
No,
opinion.
it is a blend of different genres. There is black comedy in there. There is film noir,
Mm-hmm.
certainly, given the lighting
Mm-hmm.
choices in there. It
Mm-hmm.
is hagsploitation at its finest. It is right up there with Whatever Happened to Baby Jane and Mommy Dearest. By the
Mm-hmm.
way, my Whatever Happened to Baby Jane's.
Oh, superb! I sent you the Birds Target figure. They did a
Yes,
new one
you
this
did.
year. She's
I have it
behind me.
downstairs in the china cabinet. I have to bring it up here. I just had no room.
They did a new one this year for Grey Gardens.
Oh man, I have to get that one now too.
Adore,
That's
adore.
terrific.
They do
I also
one
have to get.
like. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just I have to get the Funko just came out with a couple of new Hitchcock ones too. They've got Jim Jeffries from Rear Window. They've got who else? Cary Grant in North by Northwest, and there was one more. Oh, it was Tippi Hedren in The Birds. Melanie Daniels.
Perfect array of accoutrement to put behind us while we podcast.
Yep.
Do you have any National Treasure Funkos?
I don't have National Treasure Funkos. I
can't
don't think they
believe
ever
they
did them. I don't think they ever
That
made
seems
any.
like a missed opportunity. Big missed opportunity, guys.
Yeah, I agree. I have always kept an eye on the auctions, like Heritage or Julian's, because they always, and
Mm-hmm.
Prop Store, they always have something from National Treasure in there. And the last auction Prop Store they had one of the Book of Secrets books for sale. They had, I think, one of the, when you see the movie, there's a wooden plank in it kept in the Resolute desk in the White House. They had
Mm-hmm.
that. I've seen, I think some of the treasure itself has been up for auction at one point. I would love a piece from that movie, for either one of those movies, but I would love a piece. I would love the giant tube. Oh, and that's the other thing, in Fountain of Youth, what I think one of the big nods to National Treasure is Krasinski has one of those map tubes on his back a lot of the time. It was kind of funny. I would love to cosplay as Nick Cage in this movie, go to a con sometime dressed as
Not a
him.
bad
That would be
costume.
fun.
It's super easy too. We don't have to wear something super ridiculous. It feels
I
like
have
it
a
would be a
couple of pages
comfortable,
bookmarked.
easy.
Yeah, they said here's everything he bought at Urban Outfitters and where you can find it.
Nice. Perfect. So you said you watched this movie the first time with your dad, who is big into history, or is he work in history?
No, he was just into history. He was
Big
a
into
music
history.
teacher and
Oh,
a piano
nice.
teacher, but he has
Cool.
always loved history. He was a theater major or a music major with theater minor. And so he was big into 1776. That's one of his favorite shows. So I grew up loving the historical stuff.
When I went to start researching this, because I don't want to research it too much when I haven't seen something, but I do kind of like to pull different people's opinions as to why they might not have seen it. And a couple of people said to me, like, I haven't seen it because I heard it's really not that historically accurate. And I will grant sometimes I personally won't watch a movie if I don't know the actual history itself. Like, I didn't watch Troy for the longest time because I was worried if I didn't know what the real history was and I only watched Troy, I'd accidentally learn the wrong story first. And then, like, on Jeopardy, I'd give the wrong answer. Or, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's hard to unlearn the wrong thing. So when you approach movies like this that are based on history, do you have a preference? Does it totally kill it if it's really, really inaccurate?
It depends. So National Treasure doesn't bother me because this movie isn't supposed to be historically accurate. It's supposed to be fun. And it's a treasure hunt. And there's always going to be anachronisms and inaccuracies. Like you said with the glasses, like the colored glass wasn't invented until much later. And that kind of stuff. That doesn't bother me so much. And there you could feasibly write it off. Same thing with like Jurassic Park. Well, dinosaurs didn't really look like that. And the way I take it, they substituted some of the missing DNA with frog DNA, and I'll take that as the reason those dinosaurs don't have feathers or don't look the way they do, or the way they should. I take issue when you are portraying a historical event and you deliberately change the history to fill the story. So, for example, I cannot get through Trumbo, the movie, the Bryan Cranston film where he plays Dalton Trumbo, the screenwriter. It's during the Red Scare, the Hollywood 10.
Yeah.
The problem is there were the Hollywood 10, and it's Ring Lardner Jr. and Edward Dmytryk, and these 10 screenwriters who go up before HUAC and refuse to testify, refuse to name names. And Dalton Trumbo was one of them. They consolidated several of the Hollywood 10 into one character played by Louis C.K. And it's not the Louis C.K. part is anyway, but like the fact that instead of using the 10 actual people who lived, they consolidated them into one character to represent them all. Why? For what purpose? And the problem was I started watching this movie right after I finished my documentary series for TikTok on the Red Scare and on the Hollywood 10. So I was well versed in it immediately, and I couldn't watch it anymore. And I don't care how great Bryan Cranston was, and he was terrific. I couldn't get through the movie because it was so wrong on every level. On the flip side, Amadeus is completely historically inaccurate. It is an anachronism, but it was never meant to be accurate. The play it was based on was just supposed to be this fantasy conversation between Mozart and Salieri. What might have happened if they had really hated each other? So I don't care that that's historically inaccurate because you're not watching it for historical accuracy. You're watching it for the performances and for these two characters to play off of each other.
That is a perfect example because that movie is also so fun to watch, so interesting, so engaging, and yet
delightful.
it's based on a pretty dry beginning, like, oh, the Declaration of Independence in American history, Mozart and his friend, and you're like, no, guys, it is so compelling and sold by the actors because those are some really wonderful performances. That's F. Murray Abraham killing it in that. I think for me, very accurate on the, like, if you're trying to sell me an agenda that didn't actually happen, get the fuck away from me with that movie. I always feel like it needs to have a kernel of pseudoscience for me to want to be okay with it. Like, for example, Ben Franklin did not invent those stereoscopic colored lenses, but he did invent bifocals. So he did play with lenses and make different kinds of glasses. Okay, we're starting with a kernel of truth, and then we're building our story out of that. You started somewhere, I'll give you that.
There's a foundation.
We're imagining what might have happened. Exactly. We're not changing what happened. We're imagining something that hasn't been proven to not totally have happened. And I'll go along with that ride.
Yeah, exactly. And there's some really fantastic biopics out there and just historical films that I love and that are fairly accurate. They're always going to make some changes for the purpose of the story and selling you an exciting film. But Quiz Show is terrific. Ray Fiennes. set in the 1950s, based on the true scandal of the show 21, in which the answers were being fed to, I can't remember the guy that Ray Fiennes is playing, but he was this charismatic professor who the audience loved, so they were feeding him the answers so he could keep staying on the show. And he was going up against this other guy in the movie. He's played by John Turturro, who's brilliant and knows all the answers, and he keeps winning, and they keep trying to get him off the show because he's just so off-putting, and he won't leave because he keeps getting everything right.
It's really smart. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man,
that one's really good.
I
Tucker,
love
the
that
Man in
one.
His Dream. It's a little known Francis Ford Coppola film about Preston Tucker, who invented a car with a third headlight. I think it was the first to
Oh
have
yeah,
seatbelts.
I
It had
remember
all these
that
bells and whistles
movie.
on it.
Oh,
It's great. It's interesting. I love founder movies like, Pirates of Silicon Valley, Blackberry, The Founder, the Ray Kroc movie, the McDonald's movie
I
with
was
Michael Keaton.
just thinking
I
about that
love those
one.
kinds of
He was
business
good.
movies. Yeah, he's terrific in that. And this is one of those. And he basically Tucker gets squashed by the big automakers because he just can't compete. So yeah, that's another one I really like.
I think it's really important whenever you're looking at these kinds of movies, or pretty much any movie in society today. It's just like looking at an article that you're reading. Who put this out? Where is this coming from? Who wrote this article? What is the source
Right.
behind it? A friend of mine was texting me about a movie that they were watching, and they're like, this movie is insane. It's post apocalyptic. And I was like, who's the cast? And by telling me the cast, I knew immediately who was behind the production. And I was like, dude, you're watching Mormon propaganda movies. It's about to get majorly religious. You don't realize this yet because it's
Yep.
just on regular TV. And my friend was like, no way. 10 minutes later, they're like, how did you know? I was like, because I looked up the production company. It's Angel Films, guys.
Oh yeah.
So you got to check
Yep.
your sources because some stuff can be, especially if it's pretending to have been a true or based on true, because it's like fat free, can still have a little fat in it. Based on a true story doesn't mean it's all true by any means.
Based on a true story was a lie. It was it created to sell movies at drive-ins that weren't doing well, and they put based on a true story. I did a video on it for TikTok. They basically put based on a true
I'll have to
story
link it.
as a way to entice people to come see it because I want to see what this is based on. And so we use based on a true story now as essentially there's a kernel of truth under here somewhere. Like for example, Texas Chainsaw Massacre is quote based on the story of Ed Gein. They and any slasher horror film, Halloween, they always try to use that, Ed Gein is the basis for this character. He's not. It's just, it makes it sound like it could really happen, and therefore I want to see it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Like there once was a girl named Emily Rose. She was never possessed or anything, but she lived, and
Right.
this is the movie. So boom. And like, yeah, okay. You got to kind of
Yeah,
look it up when it says that.
I think the Exorcist, the Linda Blair movie, was based on a true story, a real exorcism that happened.
Yeah, just somebody. It wasn't her, but it was once. It was like 100 years ago. Just
Right.
you start to pull it apart.
Amityville,
Yeah.
perfect example. Amityville was later debunked as being completely bullshit. All a hoax.
And it almost completely ruined that town. Like
Yep.
nobody wants to
Same
live
thing.
in Amityville.
Same thing with the Warrens, charlatans. All of it bullshit.
Oh my god, I'm not surprised though when you start to pull apart the way that they did business and everything. I mean, and
Yep.
also some of the claims are really ridiculous.
Oh yeah. But it sells the movie based on a true story, based on the archives of the Warrens. Yeah, it's
Oh
exciting
yeah.
and intriguing, and it's all garbage.
And they even tried to sell the love story of the Warrens at one point. Like, it's not just that they
Yeah.
hunt, they love each other so much. By the end, it was all about that. And, like, whatever
Oh,
gets
they're
butts
gonna
in
do
seats, especially with Blumhouse.
they're gonna do a Young Sheldon spin-off style thing of Ed and Lorraine as just out of college, just trying to start their lives, and then hunting ghosts.
If they did a young Nicolas Cage National Treasure, do you have any idea who would you put as Nicolas Cage, the actor? Who might be able to pull that?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know. I'm so like not up on younger actors. Like, could Chalamet do it?
Touche.
I don't think so. I keep wanting to make a video on this. I feel like we're at the end of the era of the movie star, like the true movie star. We went from the golden age of Bogey and Bacall and Katharine Hepburn, And then we got into the era of Meryl Streep and Nicolas Cage and Kevin Costner and those actors. And I think with the advent of social media and the ability to just see what these people are doing at all times, the loss of the tabloids of
Mm.
Hedda Hopper and Llewellyn Parsons, the studio system not being able to control the narrative the way they used to, the era of the movie star, and the fact that we see them as just regular people now and not these larger than life characters has eroded the concept. And so
Yeah.
it's hard for me to
Yeah.
like keep track of newer people because I just, if I'm not seeing them in something, I don't know who any of these people are.
No, I mean, and you'd have to be somewhat of a more eclectic actor to pull off this. So, like, a little bit, not totally as mainstream, but still mainstream.
Yeah.
I just, maybe Taron Egerton. And I think he
Taron
has even
Egerton's a good
done
idea. Yeah.
an adventure, like he's done The Kingsman. So he might
He's
be a
done the
little bit older
Kingsman's
than would be
movies.
appropriate, but maybe.
He's, and he can act. It's good
Yes,
to see him. Like, you got to find someone who can do weird and then pull it back
exactly.
and be convincing either way. I just like Nicolas Cage is a special brand of weird, and I have yet to
I,
see. I almost feel like a lot of new actors, the Gen Zs especially, are so scared of going too big and going weird that
yeah.
they're like Timothy Chalamet doesn't impress me that much because he's Timothy Chalamet in every movie. Tom Holland might be able to do it. He can go kind of big, but also he's Spider-Man in every fucking movie. Like, I don't know.
Elijah Wood, I think, is the youngest one, I think, who walks the line between great acting and weird.
Yeah.
And Paul Dano, to a certain extent, the two of them back to back in Swiss Army Man might be some of the most beautiful weird I've seen in recent memory.
You know who would be great as a young Nicolas Cage? He's playing Jimmy Olsen in the new Superman movie. He was Gideon in Righteous Gemstones. I can't remember the guy's
Yes!
name. He
Yes, I
is
know exactly who you're
excellent.
talking about.
I love him, and I think he'd be a great young Nicolas Cage.
I would buy that as well. I would buy that as well. I'll have to include his name in we'll look it up later.
Yeah, I just can't
Yeah,
remember his name off the top of my head, but he's every time he was on screen in the Gemstones, I was like, it's
it's
Gideon. I love
great.
him.
Another fantastic cast. They really pulled that together. I
Oh
didn't think I'd
God,
like that as
perfect.
much as I wound up liking it, and really,
That was
really good.
perfection. I like
Yeah.
not only the main cast, but when they would do the flashback episodes and the kids playing Danny McBride and Adam Devine and all that, like they were fantastic, and they looked like them too.
They must have spent time with the adult actors, like a tangible
They
amount of
had
time,
to.
because they really were nailing it at a level where you're like, oh, that's impressive for kids that age.
I was looking up, especially the actor playing young Danny McBride. I was looking up, is that his kid? Because he honestly looks and sounds like he could be related to him, and he wasn't. It
And
was just like spot on casting.
sometimes you do that. Like I was watching this movie recently where I was like, damn, that guy looks a lot like Bill Pullman. Just exactly like
Hmm.
Bill Pullman. That's Bill Pullman's kid. Like, oh yeah,
Yep,
because it is. Both of them are going to be in
exactly.
Spaceballs.
Fun fact. Oh, that's interesting. Fun fact: Caleb Deschanel, who did the cinematography for National Treasure,
Mm-hmm.
is the father of Zoe and Emily Deschanel.
It's a great fun fact. I
Yep.
wanted to talk about the
Nepotism
cinematography for
runs in the
this
industry.
movie. What? This must be the first
I know.
case of it. Call the reporters. As soon as you start to look stuff down, you're just like, oh, this is it's so sad having not actually been the child of anybody famous. Your chances are shit. But I wanted to talk about the cinematography here because, again, in a movie like this is kind of considered popcorn, which is used derogatorily. It does have thoughtful cinematography. It feels
It
energetic.
does.
It feels steady. It doesn't shake around to get its action. It moves and cuts to
Right.
get it. Its editing gives us its action and its pacing.
My favorite moments in this film are when you get a sense of scale, like when they do the drone shots or the helicopter shots over the aircraft carrier,
Yes.
and that's I think the perfect encapsulation is when they first enter the chamber with the treasure in it, and they see the scrolls and they see the statue, and then Ben lights the gunpowder that trails out, and then you get a true sense of the scale of the treasure and how grand it is and how much was actually saved. And it's like, oh my God, this is so much bigger than even they realize. It's such a perfect ending to the film, and just beautiful cinematography. And I think honestly a lot of that looked like a matte painting, and I love the hell out of that. We need more matte paintings in modern films.
I always prefer a mix of practical to CGI because the practical will always hold up a little better.
It
Having
always
just
holds
watched
up.
Jumanji, the practical held up way better. And
Yep.
that scene felt a lot like the arc scene at the end of Indiana Jones, where they're like pushing away, and there's just this massive understanding of how much hidden treasure there is.
Oh yeah.
It also felt like a video game, especially in that whole scene where they're going down that spiral circular column. It felt a lot like a game I play called Dark Souls. These are Dark Souls settings. These are Dark Souls interactive challenges. And again, that was another way to pull you into feeling like, oh, I have to pay enough attention because I will be given the reins to this character shortly. This might just be a cutscene. Like, oh, it was.
Right.
I enjoyed that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah. The set design in here is great, and just like
Mm-hmm.
you never wonder what's happening. Like, what am I looking at? What's going on here? There are no quick cuts. I just watched Bride Hard yesterday. Not great.
Oh,
And
yeah,
the
it didn't
fight
look good.
scenes are very heavily chop, 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 chop. And so you can tell, like, that's Rebel Wilson. That's the stunt double. That's Rebel Wilson. That's the stunt double. And it's, you can't really get a sense of what's going on with the action. And then you watch National Treasure, and like everything flows linearly. Everything flows smoothly, and you never feel disoriented.
A lot of the way too close action, I think, and that's a Michael Bay preference, is to be way too close to what is happening. It does make me have a lot of difficulty staying in and understanding what's happening in the scene. As we get towards the end here, favorite scene, least favorite scene. Can you pick even
Favorite
just
scene.
one?
My favorite scene is the scene when they unroll the Declaration in Independence Hall, and he says, the last time this is here, this is being signed. That's my favorite scene in the whole movie. Least favorite
Nice.
scene, probably the aircraft carrier scene. It's not quite jumping the shark, but it's just enough of like too much of an action movie. Like it almost takes you out of the grounding of the film, because you got the FBI involved. I don't know if you noticed, but Dokes from Dexter is in there. He's one of the agents. Did you watch
Oh,
Dexter?
I watched just enough of Dexter that I should have recognized, but I did not.
Yep. He shows up, and you can hear in the voice. You almost wanted to say, "Surprise, motherfucker!" You know he's gonna say it. But that scene where he leaps off the back of the aircraft carrier and he's picked up on the little submersible thing, that sort of took me out for a split second, and then we're okay. But yeah, my favorite scene is that Independence Hall scene.
Nice. That is a crucial scene. I feel like if you haven't bought into the movie by then, that's kind of a scene that just drags you all the way in. And
Yeah.
I've only seen it the one time last night, so I think if I watch it again, I may have different favorite scenes. But my favorite scene is the scene in which I felt like, you son of a bitch, I'm in. And it's the scene inside the Charlotte when they find the scrimshaw pipe, and he pulls it apart, puts his blood on it, and then uses it to reveal the message.
Oh yeah.
I thought that was so fucking cool. I was
And
like,
when
if that's
he's
how the rest of
working
this
out
movie is going to be.
when he's working out the poem or whatever is written, and he's it's iron, it's indelible, it's this, and it's like, oh God, he's working it out in front of you. Like, he doesn't automatically know it, he's working it out with everyone there. He's like workshopping the answer. I love that he knows everything, it's in there somewhere, but he's not the kind of genius who just automatically knows the answer off the top of his head. He's got to work it
It's
out.
not like Sherlock
I love that.
Holmes. Exactly.
Right,
Yeah, where
exactly.
it's
And
just
he's not
like,
rubbing it in
obviously, why
everyone's
didn't you
face.
know it? Yes.
Yeah, and you can tell for him, the chase is what's exciting. It's not necessarily finding the thing, and he wants to find it, but it's the chase and it's the hunt, and that's what he loves so much. Is the
His
finding
eyes.
of the next clue.
Like, Nicolas Cage's eyes had all of the like seeming of this like gleaming joy. It reminded me of the scene in which, and he's yelling in that scene, he's not in this, he's talking to Cher in Moonstruck, and there's this passion behind his eyes, and he's thinking, and he's coming up with these extemporaneous like ideas about what it might be, and not all of them are right, so he backtracks on that. But like, that felt exactly like the Vermont Challenge, where we got the thing, it's a clue, it's interactive, it's so cool. And I'm like, if the rest of the movie is like this, yeah, you got me. You got me good. To
Exactly.
the point where, sorry.
Oh no, you start to wonder in this film, like, does Nicolas Cage understand the treasure is not real, or does he not believe that there is a treasure?
I think there might be a treasure now. I'm not sure.
I
Like you said, when
he
Nicolas
sold
Cage
me on
dies,
it.
there might be a treasure. I think he might do like a Parsifal, like in Ready Player One, where when he
Yeah,
goes, there's gonna be a giant treasure hunt,
there's gonna be a
and I
treasure.
am here for that.
Yep.
I was enjoyed that aspect so much that my least favorite scenes kind of don't really bother me at all. And my least favorite scenes are the involvement of the female character. I feel like it is a little bit like he has to get the girl, she has to be there. There's only like one and a half female characters if you count the FBI
Yeah.
agents. So she kind of just feels jammed in certain places. I wish that they either like made her a little bit more dimensional or just didn't have her there. It didn't really
Yeah.
interrupt my enjoyment of the film, though.
I don't love the scene when they escape the gala and they have the declaration, and she's there and she's like, yelling at him, and then he's like, "Will you shut up?" There's some misogyny there. I don't love that so much. And then but then it quickly turns into she's on board and she's not going anywhere and she's here to help solve the mystery too. When they breathe on the back of the declaration and the numbers appear, and it's like, oh, okay, now she's locked in, she's ready, she's going to follow this to the end. That's very
She's
cool.
smart too. She does interact and she
She's
does know the answers, so they let her be
Yep.
smart. Yeah. I just didn't need the love interest aspect. I feel like sometimes that, like, again, because they both had to like sexily breathe together, and as soon as that happened, I was like, just get a hair dryer, and they did. They did get a hair dryer. It's much more practical. But like, all
Yeah.
right, I
Oh, I
get
like
it. There needs to be
when
that.
John Voight says we could put it in the oven, and they're like, no.
Yes. Oh man. Yeah. So I normally at the end we answer these three questions. Did you like the movie? I loved the
I love the
movie.
movie.
I
It's
thought
my
it was
favorite movie of all
great.
time.
I like I guess my worry and fear leading up to this movie was that it would just kind of be so campy I couldn't engage, or so ridiculously conspiracy theory that it wasn't for me. And as soon as you said you liked it, and I know you enough, I was like, that can't possibly be what this movie is about. So if you're sitting here and you're thinking that that is any spectrum of this, you really need to sit down and watch this movie. I think it's fantastic. 5 out of 5 stars for you? Is that what we're going?
Every time I watch it, it's 5 out of 5 stars.
That's amazing. I love that it's had this rewatch, because sometimes people get nostalgia glasses and sometimes people don't. Like, well, it's good for 3 or 4 watches, but this truly is both something that feels like has great acting, great cinematography, great writing, and great rewatchability. That's hard to
Yeah.
find in a lot of things. It still remains fun. What's you besides the "I want to steal the Declaration of Independence"? Do you have a most quoted line?
Oh, I'm trying to think. That's a good question.
In
I
movies
don't
like
think
this, there
so.
are a lot of, yeah, a
I
lot
know
of like,
you would
you can go back to it, pop
you
it
would
on you. It's
think there would be
okay.
something else, but no, that's the one that I keep
That's the
coming back.
one.
I mean, that is the line from this movie. It has become a meme at this point.
And it's
Yeah.
funny how it does it. Like, you sometimes people say something too many times, like, say what again, motherfucker, and I'll shoot you. Like, it can be
Yeah.
too much, and yet it every single time they say it, it enthralls you instead of annoys you, which is really kind of interesting. I don't know
Hmm.
why or how, but you're like, yeah, you said it again.
Yeah, I know. It's because it's not something you can say all the time. There's a very specific like scenario where you can say like, "I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence." Like,
It's cadence. Yeah.
yeah.
Would you recommend this movie to other people? And are there any caveats to whom you might not recommend this movie?
No, I would recommend this to every single person on the planet. I love this movie. I'm sorry. I adore this film. If you're not a history fan, it might not be for you. If you're someone who hates the way the country is right now and don't want to watch any kind of like yay America stuff. And it's not preachy, it's not patriotic, it's not propaganda, but there is a sense of mild patriotism here of like America used to be kind of a cool place. If that's not for you, probably not a good movie to watch. But if you're someone who just enjoys history and Nicolas Cage and treasure hunts and heists, like this hits every box.
even think it's pretty good for kids. Like, it's not super
Oh yeah,
violent. I think you could. I think
there's
maybe
almost.
is PG.
I think it's PG-13. There might be a damn or a hell in there somewhere. Like there's no gratuitous violence. There's no gratuitous cursing. It's pretty tame, all told.
It's actually
So there's
PG.
oh, it's PG. Yeah, like there's that one scene toward the end where the guy falls off into the abyss. When
Hmm.
they're going down the spiral,
Oh
and
yeah.
that's like there's almost no death in this movie. Like it's very very low key.
Which I waited till the end of our episode to say this, but spoiler alert: Sean Bean doesn't die.
I know. So there's the one movie where Sean Bean lives to tell the tale.
And he's the bad guy. I was so ready for my
Yep.
Sean Bean death. And now this is like, okay, now I can think of at least, if anybody says name a movie where Sean Bean doesn't die, you can, National
National
Treasure.
Treasure. Yep.
That's good. That's good trivia. I would actually say that if you're listening to this and you're the kind of person that might feel like you're falling out of love with America right now, and I definitely am. I just joined this wonderful leftist conservative group on Facebook. Leftist conservative, no, leftist liberal, where we're all putting out different content, and it's on YouTube, and it's a kind of like 24 hours on Wednesday, Tuesday, Thursday, different
Oh, interesting.
podcasts where the people who host them have liberal leanings. And some of them are really political shows, and my stuff is still just about movies. I'm kind of the like palate cleanser between, say, I can't even remember any of the shows. I'm so sorry, but I'll list them at the end. We just started. So I do feel like I'm kind of a person who might have said, like, I don't want to watch a movie that's about liking America. However, I really do feel like this movie walks a line where just enough that you feel like you can fall in love again. Nicolas Cage
Yeah,
brings you along on that, and it shows you
he
these
does.
small aspects of what formed the democracy that we have. And, it's complicated. And of course, it's not perfect, and it never was. But it reminds you of the aspects that were worth saving in this kind of like don't throw the baby out with the bathwater sort of way.
Right.
And I feel like I needed that, especially as this is coming out on the 4th of July and you're not sure why to even celebrate the 4th of July this year as an American. Maybe don't celebrate America, but maybe just watch National Treasure and celebrate Nicolas Cage.
Watch National Treasure and watch 1776. It's still just a. I mean, it's also very historically inaccurate, I would say, but there is enough there to make you feel inspired and like,
Mm-hmm.
and maybe a little hopeful for the future that
Yes,
things could be better
exactly.
again.
Yeah.
You know,
And like you said, it's low stakes. It's not about saving America, but it kind of is. It's more about just finding this treasure. So if you're feeling
yeah,
overwhelmed, it's still accessible for people, in my opinion.
definitely.
Before we go, I just want to ask, is there, we talked about your book, Library at the Center of the Earth, which was definitely going to be in the liner notes. You can grab that, purchase it. I know I'm going to get it. It sounds really great. Anything else you'd like to plug before we go?
Sure. So you can find me on TikTok at Lobby Intros. You can find me on Instagram at Lobby_intros. You can find me on Letterboxd at HC Marks. I'm getting more active on Letterboxd. The
Nice.
reviews I put on TikTok, I script out, and then those go on Letterboxd as well.
Mm-hmm.
You can find me on Mometu, Mometu.com. It is a free streaming app, free streaming service.
Mm-hmm.
I am a judge for their college film festival this year, judging the documentary entries, and I'm also their classic film host. So you can watch a classic film, you can watch my introduction to that classic film beforehand. And I've got a whole section for myself up there.
In fact, they're on YouTube. So the last time we had you on, when we were talking about this right now, boom, over here will be Momitu's page. And then this will be Harry's page where they've got intros of your stuff up there. So we can link directly to their YouTube so you can even check that out and then go get the app and then go TikTok. There's tons of wonderful ways to
Yep.
keep watching all this great content that Harry puts out. Judging for that upcoming contest, that sounds exciting. Do you get to watch all the films at once, or do you get them sent like a little bit by little bit?
So they're all up on Momitu now. They're parceled out into their
Okay.
individual categories. So all the finalists you can go and watch them too. But the final award ceremony I think is July 26th or that
Okay.
weekend
Okay.
in Los Angeles. I wish I could go, but I sadly cannot. I would
Yeah.
love to go in person one year, but unfortunately I can't. But I'll definitely be, putting my votes in, and good luck to the winners.
They're in
Or to
spirit.
the
Yeah.
candidates.
Awesome, awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking to us about
My
this
pleasure.
really awesome movie that is obviously something you really, really enjoy and something that I wound up
I
really,
love it.
really enjoying. And I would not have watched for any other reason if it had not been for you telling me to watch it. So this is truly helpful for me. Thank you.
Well, I mean, it should tell you something. I watched it 2 months ago. Um, for the first time in probably a year, and I still know every beat of that movie and can tell you exactly where something I've watched it so many times. It's like part of my blood.
Oh, that's awesome. Those are truly the greatest movies. And whenever someone I admire who likes movies at all tells me that there is a movie like that for them, I never find myself disappointed in those movies. They are always accessible and joyful and great.
Yep.
So, it's a sign of a good movie when you find someone like Harry saying National Treasure is my number one letterbox, and it always has been.
You know what you have to watch next, and it's not a good
But
movie by any stretch, but I enjoy the hell out of it. If you haven't seen it, the Super Mario Brothers from 1993.
of course, I've seen the Super Mario Brothers from
Okay, good.
1993. That was my. I love it. It's not good, but I do. I
I
do
love that
love
movie.
it. Even knowing like what happened to poor Bob during filming and how he hurt his hand and all of these
Yep.
like all of the
And he
mishmash that went.
hated it. He would go on talk shows after that movie came out and bash the hell out of it. He just hated working on that. But I got to say, he doesn't half-ass it. He goes whole ass into that movie. He never phones it in. He is a consummate professional the entire time.
And that I feel like makes the movie. Like everybody is really trying, even though it is ridiculous as fuck. I mean,
Hmm.
I did see the newer one that's fully animated and it's fun, it's fine and everything, but it doesn't
It's a
have the
good kids
heart
movie.
and the ridiculousness that the original one had. I do
That
think
movie
that
was a
one's a great
swing for the
classic.
fences. Like they took every idea from the video games and was like, and we're like, what if we did this in real life? How messed up would that look? And they did it, and I loved every moment of it. That'd be a great one to do with someone who hasn't seen it, because I feel like that's one that not a lot of people have seen, especially the younger generation, because it was just unavailable for so long. That might be a fun
Yeah.
one to do an episode on.
I'll put it on my list and I'll find someone soon because I do think that at that period of time when we were doing video games, we were swinging hard. Like even Mortal Kombat with like
Yeah,
Christopher Lambert in it is just so bad. But it also had
it's awful.
God, it had he played the father in the original Adams Family.
Raul Julia.
That was his last
That's Street
film. Was
Fighter.
Mortal
That
was
was
Street
Street
Fighter? Was
Fighter.
that one where he plays
Street Fighter was his
Bison?
last. He played M Bison. Yeah, Mortal Kombat
That's a
was
bad
Christopher
movie.
Lambert, and I honestly don't remember any of the other cast from the original Mortal Kombat. But
It's hard to
Street Fighter
remember
was Jean
anyone.
Claude Van. Yeah, Street Fighter I think was Jean Claude Van Damme, Raul Julia. I don't remember anyone else
Mhm.
who was in that movie. But yeah, that he said he wanted to do it because he wanted to make a movie his kids could see, not realizing his kids could see the Adams Family and have a much better time.
So much better time. So, like that period of time, we were getting the best of the best actors to be in these movies, and they just did not have the script or the special effects ready or anything. And so, I have to assume people were signing up without reading scripts because those movies are
Yeah.
terrible.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's funny because Adam's Family, from what I remember, was not super well received when it came out. It was kind of panned by some critics.
I loved it because I was a kid, but yeah, I don't remember it being
Yeah,
super
and
popular.
I think upon rewatching over the years and just developing a cult following, people have come to appreciate just how beautifully macabre that film is.
Hmm.
It out Tim Burton's Tim Burton.
Yeah, I think we learned to love Tim Burton a lot more after made a couple of movies, and then he jumped the shark, and now it's kind of fun to hate Tim Burton again.
He
So
got
it's like,
money. That's the problem.
mm,
He got money and he got less weird. Like the '80s Tim Burton of Beetlejuice, Edward Scissorhands, early Batman. That was peak Tim Burton. Up until like
mhm.
Ed Wood. Ed Wood is a great film. Again, not well loved when it first came out. Has developed a cult following. But then when he starts getting into, I don't think his Sweeney Todd is that great. I don't think his Alice in Wonderland movies are great. When he got money, he got lazy, and I just hasn't been good.
And it's funny because Sweeney Todd was such a passion project for him as well, and it's like sometimes when people are really, really into it, they still get it wrong. So again, for National Treasure to be a passion project that hits so authentically instead of like being something maybe held a little too tightly like Sweetie Todd, it really is impressive.
Yeah. Yeah, Sweeney Todd was miscast from the start, and it was too honest. Surprisingly enough, it was too clean. It was not gritty enough. You know, the stage show was was dark and gloomy and gritty. It was the 1970s in New York. Like that show has a very distinct feel to it, and I don't think he did it justice with his rendition.
And back to Angela Lansbury again. She was
Yep.
very, very good in that role. And Helena
Oh,
Bonham
brilliant.
Carter is his wife, so you've got that questionable nepotism involvement. And I think that anytime an artist becomes only associated with the actors, like directors who, anytime you see them, you're going to get so and so, it doesn't work long term. It's great for a couple of movies, and then it gets really stale really fast.
When it's director actor, I agree, but you take someone like Hitchcock, his wife Alma was
Mhm.
integral to editing his scripts and getting them pared down.
Touche.
David Lean and
Yeah.
his wife Kay Walsh, they worked on, I think every film together. Great Expectations,
Hmm.
Oliver Twist. um,
Hmm.
the she was the one who got him. He had never read Dickens before he started doing Great Expectations, and she was the one who said, "We're going to go see this performance of Great Expectations, the stage performance, written and adapted by Alec Guinness." And he saw the show, and he sees Alec Guinness playing Herbert Pocket, and he decides, "All right, we're going to do this movie, and I'm going to cast Guinness as Herbert Pocket." And he also got the woman who plays Miss Havisham to come back and do her role. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, but that was his first entry into Charles Dickens before. He had never read it before, and it was his wife who got him into it, and they collaborated numerous times on movies.
I think it works better when people who are kind of spousals working together, or even with the Coen brothers, like when you're deeply related outside of this work, you have to be collaborators. And when you have
Yes.
directors and actors, because the directors are supposed to be in charge of the actors, I sometimes feel like the director does not give enough note and enough correction, and the actor goes wild when left alone, and so you get these uneven
Yeah.
performances because the director didn't want to edit, or because the director can't see through the lens of being in love with this person, versus like Wes Anderson's
Right.
costume director is his wife.
Okay.
Crucial to what is Wes Anderson's look, right?
Yeah.
But
Exactly.
there's a collaborative role versus a like, I'm telling you what you need to do and maybe how to fix your own craft.
And I think there's a checks and balances thing in place there, or in play there too,
Mm-hmm.
especially where you look at Hitchcock, and you could absolutely tell his wife comes in and is like, "You have disappeared up your own ass here. We're going to edit this script because you clearly don't know how to winnow down a 500-page script down to 90 pages. So let's do this together." She was great at that.
Yeah. That is so clutch. And I definitely know a bunch of artistic people who work together in that fashion where it's like, oh yeah, but you need so and so because they're the only person who can actually say blank to blank. And you're like, oh,
Exactly.
yeah, thank God.
No one else is going to tell Hitchcock no, especially by the time he made Psycho and all that. Like, he was Alfred Hitchcock. But, Alma was going to step in and say, "No, we're not doing it this way."
And that's what feels like is happening with Burton now, is that nobody is stepping in and saying to Tim Burton, like, hey, explain your choices. You were weird when we started, but all your weird choices had reasons. Now it just feels like you're being weird to be weird. Why is this like this? This doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's fun little tangent for the end of the show. Anything before we go? Because we do have to go.
I have nothing else.
All
I'm
right.
spent.
Well, on that note, if you haven't
KT,
seen
you
National
are a
Treasure,
national treasure.
oh yeah, I'll leave it on that. Thank you.
I'm gonna steal the Declaration of Independence.
All right, so normally this is the part of the show where we do corrections and omissions, but this time, no corrections. We covered a lot. Harry and I did the work, and he really knows this piece, so I'm not surprised that we didn't bungle anything up. But National Treasure is just that kind of movie where there's always a little bit more to dig up. So think of this as your bonus round, a few extra behind the scenes facts and weird little gems that we just didn't get to in the episode. Number 1. The Silence Do Good letters. They are Historically, totally real. 16-year-old Benjamin Franklin, because that's a totally normal thing for a 16-year-old to do at the time, I guess, wrote actual letters under the fake name of a middle-aged widow named Silence Dogood, and then he sent them to his brother's newspaper. The New England Current published them, and readers, they loved her. So when Nicolas Cage's character chases that clue into the movie, it is in fact based on a real piece of Benjamin Franklin lore. Number 2. Jerry Bruckheimer produced this movie. The man behind Pirates of the Caribbean, The Rock, Top Gun, CSI. Yes, Jerry Bruckheimer is kind of the king of smart, dumb fun. And once you realize National Treasure was a Bruckheimer production, it all kind of makes sense. The pacing, the tone, the dramatic music sting every time someone says, Declaration of Independence. Number 3. The director, John Turteltaub, also directed Cool Runnings and While You Were Sleeping, which we didn't get to talk about this during the episode, but that's a weird collection of movies. National Treasure, Cool Running, and While You Were Sleeping. But I feel like it kind of explains a lot. It is why this movie, despite being about heists and secret society, has so much heart. Like those movies, you don't walk away feeling like it's gritty. You walk away feeling like you've been watching a character study full of inspiration. Like maybe after this, you could get a map tube and figure out a mystery. Number 4. The DVD had a literal treasure hunt. The National Treasure DVD from 2005 came with interactive puzzles and secret clickable spots in the menu. There was a built-in scavenger hunt where you had to decode messages and unlock content. It was part DVD and part RPG. I mean, come on, even the DVD was on brand. This is a pretty cool movie. Number 5. Riley wasn't supposed to have that much screen time. Justin Bartha, who plays Riley, was originally written as a minor supporting character. However, once filming started, his chemistry with Nicolas Cage was so good that the team had to expand his role. Honestly, I feel like every action movie should have this kind of character. It's like a dry-witted tech guy who's just tired of all this shit. Number 6. The pipe in Charlotte, that is not just something made up entirely as a movie MacGuffin. That is pretty well based in a concept of Masonic lore. I mean, I talked about this as being an inspiration for the Vermont Green Mountain Challenge, but the film bothers to kind of base it in reality. The carved meerschaum pipe that kicks off the entire mystery, it's got the hidden ink secret map wax seal, that whole bit. While the exact pipe, of course, is a movie prop. A real one did sell at auction, though. It's pulling directly from real-world Masonic traditions. Now, the Masons have long used ceremonial tools and personal objects like ornate pipes, scroll tubes, and even like handmade tomahawks to embed meaning, symbols, and yes, sometimes even coded messages. Albert Pike, one of the most famous Masons in American history, owned a whole collection of elaborate meerschaum pipes, including one with a silver statuette of Germania mounted on the stem. Like, seriously, they did not mess around. And archaeologists at Montpelier, Vermont, again, Green Mountain Challenge, guys, check it out, found clay pipes carved with Masonic symbols in enslaved communities. They were used as personal markers of identity and resistance. So the idea that a pipe might hold a secret message, that's not just pulled from thin air for movie magic, that is pulled from real American history. Number 7. Nicolas Cage named his own character, because of course he did. Cage was so into the film and American history in general that he picked the name Benjamin Franklin Gates himself. And it's perfect. It sounds patriotic, kind of ridiculous, and exactly like something a guy who collects dinosaur bones and owns a tomb in New Orleans would choose. And finally, number 8, that line. I'm going to steal the Declaration of Independence. We talk about it being a full-blown meme. Cage delivered it with such deadpan, serious conviction that the internet said, yes, this forever. As of 2025, the line has inspired over 120,000 memes across Reddit, Tumblr, Instagram, and Twitter, or X, whatever the hell you want to call it. There are more than 5,000 TikToks tagged with it, and some using it as an absurdist punchline, others turning it into full-blown heist choreography. It has been quoted in over 200 fanfics on Archive of Our Own, not even the ones just about National Treasure. There are Etsy shops with entire sections dedicated to it. Mugs, mouse pads, hoodies, throw pillows, and wall art that solemnly proclaims your intent to commit historical theft in Helvetica bold. It is right up there with I'm Your Father and We Have a Hulk. In terms of totally unironic commitment to a ridiculous line, and somehow it works. Cage didn't just deliver a line, he declared a meme. So there you go. 8 bonus facts we didn't get into the episode. You thought we were done, and we were just getting warmed up. Now go forth, steal some knowledge, and I'll see you next time.